Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
We wish you good evening and welcome in to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for what should be one of the most exciting races of the week to this point. We have made it through the heats, we have made it through the last chance qualifiers, and now the drivers that contested the heats earlier on in the week and finished in the top three will race for their starting spot. As tonight we reach the top 24 shootout, the third annual PGR SummerSlam 499. Welcome back to Talladega and inside the PGR eSports broadcast booth as we get you ready for action here from Lincoln, Alabama. This race slated to be one that is even more exciting than the ones before this. All of these guys are locked in. Tonight they'll race for where they will start tomorrow afternoon in the SummerSlam 499. Before we get going, I do want to thank all of those that continue to support both PGR eSports and the PGR SummerSlam 499, our title sponsors, That Towing Company with Chris Blanchard, CCR and the Flying Aces with Chris Carter, for all of their support of the SummerSlam 499 to this point. Neither driver was able to race through the LCQ. I believe both will be racing in the last chance provisional race coming up just after this. As we get ready to go under the green flag for the first time in this top 24 shootout race, I'll welcome in the other member of my broadcast crew. Firstly, want to say we do have producer Christian Hill on board for this race. He'll be downstairs doing the production work on the controls, doing a fantastic job. We want to welcome him back to PGR for another marquee event. But joining me in the booth once again is Garrett Jenkins, a.k.a. Jim Bob. Jim Bob, both LCQs provided some serious chaos. The second one even more so than the first. We know now the 40 drivers that will contest the race, but now it's time to find out where 24 of them will start.
All right. Well, for these 24 drivers, they ain't got nothing to lose. They've known that they were going to be a part of the field the moment that they finish 1, 2, 3 in their heat races. For these, this is more bragging rights than saying, hey, I'm starting on the pole in the biggest race of the summer. And like I said, to be flat out honest, if you think the LCQs were intense, what do you do when you take the biggest names in money racing? You take the biggest names in PGR, MMS, HGR, whoever, and you put them in where, I mean, what difference is it going to make? We've seen over the course of the week guys from 24th and further back be able to make moves to the front and stay at the front. But Dawson, this is a bit of a time to place a wager, so to speak, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to call my shot. I think Kyler Wynn will be on pole for the SummerSlam 499.
You talked about Kyler Wynn in his heat race last night, a dominant effort for the driver for the Jack Shack. He led 30 of his 39 laps in that heat race with the help of his teammates. And tonight we'll have a few of them in the field to work with. We did have a qualifying session. They will not line up where they finished in their heat race. They will line up after a 5-minute qualifying session. So the order will be jumbled just a little bit by virtue of a 1-lap qualifying just a moment ago. With that being said, it's time to head down trackside and meet the 24 starters that will race for the pole in the SummerSlam 499. Again, It is all of the top 3 from each of the 8 heat races leading up to this that will make up the field. They will start tomorrow where they finish tonight, and we'll remind you that format as we go throughout. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole, by virtue of the quick time a moment ago, the 0-2 of Logan York will start from pole position racing the pole tomorrow afternoon. Nick Seipel will line up alongside him, one of the guys I've got my eyes on in this race to potentially lead the field to green. Row 2, the defending PGR Light Series champion Matthew David Wood will start from third alongside his Jack Shack teammate Alex Hill in car number 11. He'll start from the 4th position to be the 77 on the side of the race car. Row 3, the captain for the McCullough Motorsports team, Kenny McCullough, after a spirited victory in his heat race earlier in the week. He'll start from 5th tonight alongside the 77 of Mark Person, also representing the Jack Shack. On row 4 to be Jackson Pies in the 3, the newest entry for Nightmare Esports. He'll start from 7th alongside the Canadian driver, the Podium 500 champion Kyler Wynn in the 82, looking to add a pole shootout win, eventually a championship belt to his resume. Rounding out the top 10, Jack Mace, the British driver, will start from 9th and 11th to 3rd run on his final overtime restart the other night. And alongside him will be the Dude Wipe Chevrolet of Max Dinda, car 48. Row 6, Sean Conklin for Ryko will start from 11th in car 54, alongside the 21 of John Ellis, repping Sim Seats tonight, looking for a big win leading into his SummerSlam efforts as he finally makes a trip to this marquee event this year. Back on row number 7 and starting in the 13th position as we continue to work back through the field, and the field begins to work off of the grid. Working back from the 13th position as we get ready to go under the green flag. The inside of the 7th row will be Scott Warren. Remember, a heat winner from earlier this week, one of the underdog stories of the event. The Canadian driver will start from 13th as he aims to race to the pole and make it just one step further in this event, what has been a breakout for him. Same can be said for Devin Sprecher, who will start from 14th in car 26. He was very, very good in his heat race, went to victory lane after a dominant second half against some of the best. He'll start from 14th tonight. Row 8 sees Adam Garza in car number 8 start from the 15th position alongside the 14 of Kenny Reel. He'll carry the 11 on board the paint scheme, another driver representing the Jack Shack. Row 9, series co-owner Matthew Baker will start from 17th alongside Yaroslav Donskoy in the 10 machine. He will start from 18th carrying M&Ms aboard that machine. Kevin Champagne will start from the 19th position alongside Tony Meyering in the 23, another one of the underdog stories from the heat races earlier this week. Led a bunch of laps. He'll start 20th tonight. Row 11, Cody Reed, Jeff Byers will start alongside each other, another pair of underdogs that managed to get into the top 3 and race in this one. And rounding out the field, Matthew Taylor, the 044, looking to make another marquee start. Alongside him, David Flanagan for the Jack Shack rounds out a 24-car field. A bit of a wrinkle in this race, and I'll be honest with you folks, this is one that I forgot about. The field will start in an Indianapolis 500 style format here. It will be a 3x3 opening start to the pole shootout race here. So don't be alarmed that they are 3 abreast here in turn 3. This is by design. It's just to throw another crazy wrinkle in this race. Real quick before we go green, Jim Bob, how about the spectacle of starting this one 3 wide as we race for the pole?
Well, to be flat honest with you, this is something. I was not expecting this. Whenever I just saw this, I thought I'll pay tribute or something or other. But I'll be honest with you, there ain't no more fitting way to really start it, as this is what this place is known for. And for these 24 drivers, I got to say, you're going to let them loose 3 wide, and you're going to already see haymakers. But Dawson, in a way, what's it going to show? These guys, a lot of these guys, they already have allies in here. They know exactly who they're racing and all that, and who can push. So ultimately, this pretty much is just going to be getting familiar with your buddies again, which for a lot of these guys, they don't need. This is literally just going to be one of the best previews that we could see for the SummerSlam 499 coming up here.
Again, this is over half of the field that will contest tomorrow afternoon's race. Again, I will remind you as we go green, there will be no eliminations from this race. All 24 cars that you see on your screen are going to contest the race tomorrow no matter what. This race is simply a means of finding out where they will start, where normally there would be a qualifying process or you'd start where you finished in your heat race or your dual race or what have you. A little bit of a wrinkle from race promoters to let drivers race for the spot, to race for the opportunity to start on pole for the biggest race of the summer. And again, what better way to do it than by starting 3 wide? And, you mentioned not expecting a fitting way to start this race, Jim Bob. I'll say this as well. They were going to be 3 wide quickly anyway. Let's be honest. By the time the field worked off turn 2 for the first time, this field of drivers, again, is a who's who of super speedway racing for the most part. They were going to make those moves anyway. And so race control, race promoters decided, let's just let them start that way. And then, again, when by the time they get off turn 2, they would have been that way anyway. They're just going to let them start 3 wide and get off to an earlier start than we would have seen in this race regardless. I'll tell you what, back in February, we had the first ever PGR pole shootout. That race was one of the most electric 30-lap races we have ever seen in this series. Surely this one will live up to the billing as well. The pace car takes the hard left to pit road. Everybody's in, but only one man can lead the field to green tomorrow. Who will it be after 35 laps of racing at Talladega? Into the restart zone for the first time, Logan York, Nick Seipel, and Matthew Wood on the front row. Green flag is in the air. We're underway in the pole shootout. Off turn 2 for the first time, it will be Nick Seipel that will inherit the lead from Logan York, although they will continue to roll side by side about 5 rows deep in the field. Matthew David Wood in the outside lane got off to a bit of a slow start compared to what I thought they were going to get up through the gears through 1 and 2. It is still 5 cars up there. Wood, Person, Mace, Ellis, and Flanagan. No surprise to me, the 31. That's the black and neon, yellow, blue, and pink Chevrolet in the outside lane. No surprise he wants to be aggressive in this one, but it's all Nick Seipel up front behind him. The captain for McCullough Motorsports, Kenny McCullough, comes forward to second as lap 2's on the board.
Right now, Seipel, McCullough, Wren, Copeland, your top 4 as they are 3 wide surrounding the 5th spot. Logan York on the bottom getting pushed by a driver who drove the race of his life to even be in this position. Alex Seal works the bottom lane. Meanwhile, Seipel and McCullough up to the top spot as the field works down the back straightaway to turn number 3. Single fouled out on the top lane, but the intensity starting to pick up. Matthew Baker, almost big save from Baker as he almost gets turned off of Logan York. Right now, a person works the middle lane, trying to make something happen for the Jack Shack, and Seipel continues to bring him down. And really, Dawson, I ain't gonna lie to you, as McCullough goes for a top spot, half of the guys you see in it, get in the back.
And it's a big one in the back. Kenny Reel was involved in this in the 11. No caution yet. Now it will come out. Kenny Reel is the first car I saw get around. Actually may have saved this race car, but some cars towards the back not as lucky. Scott Warren, Cody Reed, Kevin Champagne, Jeff Byers, John Ellis amongst those involved. And a couple of others may have gotten a piece. This started back around Kenny Reel, where he tried to make a 4-wide move 5 rows deep in the field, and it did not work out for the driver for the Jack Shack.
No, it did not. Take a look at it here. And Dawson, I'll be flat out honest with you, and probably you can recount more of this than I could, but I believe this is really the first issue we've had coming through the Tri-Oval that was not on a restart, might I add. Let me just throw that in there as we wait to replay here. But this is going to put a damper on some of these drivers to start, but honestly, some they're probably thinking, I'm still in the show. What's it matter where I start? As right now, looking at it on my side of things, and yeah, Kenny Reel just goes 4 wide. Ellis to the outside, just 2 cars going for the same real estate. But it's aggression like this that tend to go. You'll see these guys making the same thing tomorrow. And the way I look at it, better to do it now versus do it tomorrow.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, better to find out what you can and can't do now. I know I talked about that last Sunday, Jim Bob, when we were on the call for McCullough Motorsports and Sunday Money. that guys were kind of finding, the line, the limit of what they could and could not do in this race car on this package. As we get a look back at it here, and Kenny Reel into Jack Mace, they run out of real estate between Reel, Mace, and Warren. Those three cars all come together in the center lane. Reel actually gets away from this. A couple of other cars not quite as lucky, and Warren is included in that. As, again, you're looking at it from behind. Watch those three cars up ahead kind of pinball off of each other. And there Warren goes around, Champagne goes around. Some other guys in some tough scenarios actually on board with Warren here. Watch these three cars. The 07 up top, the Jack Shack 11, and they all kind of meet in the same real estate. Kenny Reel pinballs off a couple of cars. Warren pinballs off Cody Reed, and it's on from there. John Ellis, nothing he could do. He gets into the outside wall as well in this in the 21, and a couple of other cars come into it as well. Byers, Champagne spin to the inside. Reed spins to the inside. Warren to his right to the outside. The few cars involved in this opening crash of the pole shootout just 5 laps in. It should be noted, no fast repairs in this race either, just like the LCQs. Your fast repair at this point is gone in the racing this weekend. You won't have one in this race or in the last chance provisional or in tomorrow's feature. You're on one car the rest of the weekend, essentially. So under the caution for the first time on lap number 5, Kenny McCullough continues to lead the way. He'd just taken the lead from Nick Seipel a moment ago. And, I want to get back to something Kenny said in his heat race yesterday, Jim Bob, and that's that he had kind of changed his mindset. Kenny McCullough, knows how to be aggressive. He knows how to go to victory lane and has a number of times in what has become a long-tenured super speedway racing career for him, one of the founding fathers, I like to call him, of kind of modern super speedway racing. But he said last night something very interesting, that he's kind of really turned up the wick, turned up the aggression for this event, and that's a big-time mindset change for a guy in McCullough who tends to be more patient. Let things come to him. Let the race come to him as it goes. Last night, he was doing none of that. He was on the front foot all night, making big moves, throwing big blocks. It was out of character for Kenny McCullough, not in a bad way, but it got him to victory lane in his heat race, and it's got him leading this pole shootout as well.
Well, and I'm going to tell you, and of course, being that he's one of my many bosses that I have broadcasting, I will say, though, it's kind of, if I was these drivers, now we know the field, all except for the last chance qualifier coming up, or last chance provisional, I will say that is a scary thought. If I am any one of these drivers, to have a driver like Kenny McCullough, who is disciplined enough to know when to push and ride in the back, stay out of trouble, then to also have the wherewithal to know it's time to go, get to the front, stay there, and ultimately we saw that side of him in the heat race. So I'm going to say, I'll say, watch Kenny McCullough tomorrow. I'm just saying, that's just, to me, that is a scary thought to know that a driver of McCullough's caliber over the summer, multiple wins over the summer stretch, really, as you said, turned up the wick, and it has rewarded him even before now here at the SummerSlam week with his heat win and put him in this spot. Like, this is not something that's just now started, for say, but you can tell that 03 has been firing on a different set of cylinders since the July month started. And right now, Dawson, it's working out for him great.
It's working out in a big way. And, a huge win, to start on the pole tonight would be big for Kenny McCullough. Obviously, again, it's a decorated career at this point in time for Kenny McCullough. But to start on pole tomorrow, to go into victory lane tomorrow, what a statement that would be for the captain from McCullough Motorsports. Again, a veteran of the service and of the community. It would be a fan favorite win, surely, as well, if Kenny McCullough is able to get the job done. He continues to lead here. Let's remind you of the rule change this week. The choose cone is in effect throughout this week of racing. Right there with 1 to go, the field did choose. Again, by the start-finish line, you have to declare your lane either outside or inside, similar to what you see in the NASCAR National Series over the weekends. Drivers have to do it by the start-finish line. There is no choose cone marker on this scan of Talladega quite yet. Because of that, we're using an arbitrary mark on the start-finish line. It's the middle A in the word mark Talladega that comes across the start-finish line. If you run over that letter, it's essentially like running over the choose cone, and you get a penalty and go to the end of the longest line. There, to go to the inside, Devin Sprecher, Matthew Baker, Adam Garza, Alex Hill, and Jack Mace all opt to take the track position and work forward. It's not been the better lane if you're just joining us. All week, the bottom has not been good on the restarts, but they'll try it again to gain the track position. The big trade-off as you get towards the front of the field. Green flag contact. McCullough and Sprecher come together as the field got into the Simrat market restart zone. But they all get away okay. It's going to allow Adam Garza to jump up as Person jumped on the brakes in front of Kyler Wynn. Mace up, reel up, and all of a sudden it's only 3 cars on the bottom. Sprecher, Baker, and Alex Hill as Kyler Wynn looks 3 wide. He'll take the rail run off turn 2 with Jack Mace.
Right now in the CCR, McCullough Motorsports machine and Kenny McCullough surges out ahead down the back straightaway. Here comes Seipel to the inside. He's going to bring Garza with him. As right now, Person and a wrecking pig in the back. Logan York around.
Logan York, and there's another car involved in this as well. I think it's Tony Meyering in the 23. And we're right back under caution on lap 7. Donskoy and Warren were both back around this as well. And I saw this kind of start to happen. Logan York had swung across the racetrack quickly, trying to make a big move, and collects he and Tony Meyering in this. So for Logan York, he's actually doing some his best Tom Mintz impression down there on the apron, going over some jumps down there in the 0-2 of York. But
looks like Goldberg look to it.
Yeah, it almost does. Again, yellow and brown looks similar to Maximum Destruction down there in the grass. Well, you see right there, and this was another rule change I was going to mention before we got onto the grid. We did not quite have time to mention it. The rule standards for cause of cautions have changed as well. Remember, in the heats and the LCQs, your first cause of caution was an end-of-line penalty where you got sent to the tail end of the field and got to restart back there. Second cause was a DQ. In this race and in the last chance provisional coming up right after this, it is an immediate disqualification for one cause of caution. Logan York immediately deemed the cause there. You saw him vanish. That's because he's been disqualified from this race. So Logan York will start 24th, I believe. He might finish ahead of John Ellis, who was already in the garage as of lap 4. So it looks like Ellis will start 24th. York will start 23rd. A pair of cars already out of this race.
Well, definitely not how this one wanted to start, but nonetheless, not much changes here at the front. McCullough, Seipel, Person, Garza, Kyler Wynn. Right now, your top 5. And Dawson, I'm going to say this. Really think these guys, even though they've had the heat races, they've had the month of July to get ready, I still think, as you see the replay right there in Logan York, from the top floor to the basement, because right now, right in the main Marion, and it is on. But I still think these guys might be trying to find just a little bit left, trying to learn every last little thing they can before tomorrow, because quite frankly, the guy that knows these cars better than anybody is going to be the guy who will have a shot at taking the biggest race of the summer tomorrow night. As just again, just a misjudge, but a misjudge that'll take out about 3 or 4 cars with them. But to be honest with you, I think it's going to get even more chaotic from here. I think once they get going good, they're going to be ready to go. They're going to let loose. And this will not be the last caution we see, but I also think these drivers here know, all right, we're on borderline national television right now on YouTube. We need to get locked in, get some laps in, really show why the people do not want to miss tomorrow with the SummerSlam 499 as we get set here to go back to the Wyndham Green next time by, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we'll choose here at the line once again. Second caution here quickly on lap number 9. And again, I don't think that either of us are surprised. These guys, again, are entirely locked in at this point to tomorrow's race. So again, they can afford to do a little bit more. Obviously, for John Ellis, for Logan York, you wanted a little bit more racing under your belt this week just to build the confidence and, again, figure out what moves you're going to be able to make tomorrow. So for them to get early ends tonight was not in the cards, but it certainly is not the same fate as getting eliminated from this one. Kenny McCullough is your race leader under this, the second caution of the night. Nick Seipel right behind him in second. Mark Person is third. Biggest mover in this race actually is not Adam Garza. He is the second biggest mover, plus 11 to the 4th spot for Garza. Kyler Wynn is 5th. Then Devin Sprecher, Jack Mace, Sean Conklin, Matthew Baker, and Alex Hill make up the top 10. Biggest mover is plus 13. David Flanagan started shotgun on the field and is up to the 11th spot, trying to join some of his teammates here at the front of the field. They'll choose right here, 26 laps to go, and we'll see who, again, takes the bottom. It's been a storyline all week. There are some drivers that do like taking the bottom, that would rather start down there. Tony Meyering, who's in this race, was actually one of them in his heat race. But Kenny McCullough won't be that driver. Neither will Nick Seipel. Neither will Mark Person. It will be Adam Garza. That's the first car to jump to the bottom. Devin Sprecher, Jack Mace both jump down as well. Those will be the top 3 cars on the bottom lane. Most of the field, though, opts to go to the top, and that's been the story most of the week.
Right now, interesting choice for some drivers on the bottom. And again, it's just personal preference. I honestly feel like the drivers who elect the bottom, they either A, know the person, or has teammates around them that they know can give them a push. Now, statistically, I know I butchered that one, but we've seen all week, to your point, we have not seen the bottom really work. But I would like to point out for the historical record, the very few times the bottom has worked, there's always been some sort of good communication between the drivers first and second on the inside. The majority of that goes back to teammates or longtime friends that's been on the sim for God knows how long. They know the others' moves. So, in sense, just to get this bottom lane to work, it's going to take a team effort, because if you don't trust the person behind you or in front of you, just about every time, that outside lane is going to be the dominant line up until then. So I really want to see this restart here and see how this bottom lane works against McCullough and Seipel.
Funny you mentioned guys that have known each other for a long time or are working together in some capacity, because, well, it was Garza, Sprecher, and Mace. Smrecker's going to reappear 3 wide. I'm not sure he sees anybody on the racetrack right now. He is starting to back off, so he's going to go to the tail on the longest line. The field will move up. A bit of a chaotic scramble here to get in position. Green flag back in the air. Sprecher blinking on the apron, so for all intents right now, he's out of this thing as well. Up the banking at turn 1. The bottom was going to be Garza and Sprecher, who have worked together all week. Sprecher blinks out, and the bottom suffers because of it. Garza's going to be 4th by the time they work to turn 1. Mace bails out as well. That'll leave the teammates on the bottom. 3 Jack Shack cars behind Adam Garza, Flanagan, Reel, and Matthew David Wood.
3 wide further back, as you said. Right now, everybody's just trying to jostle. See a lot of jostling. Back at almost contact. Garza almost puts Colin Wynn in the wall. 4 wide to get started here. Here comes Jack Shack's on Flanagan and Reel. To the bottom, they'll get covered. As right now, Kenny Reel stuck in the middle. As Seipel leads them off of turn number 4. Garza forces his way to the outside.
Yeah, Garza and Conklin, a pair of drivers that know each other very well at this point, too. They hang Seipel in the win. That was McCullough that went all the way to the tail of the pack. Further back, Mace splits out Alex Hill. Hill's going to have help, though. Banker goes with the 77 rather than the 07 up the banking at turn 1. Garza and Conklin got all the way clear to the lead of Nick Seipel. They'll drop down. Conklin trying to cover Person. Person going a lane higher. Conklin covers it all the way upstairs and will cover back down to the center. As that's a bright orange 17 right in the middle of the racetrack now on the push of Kyler Wynn. Person got picked up by his fellow 77 and Alex Hill topside. They'll have Jack Mace, Cody Reed, and Kenny McCullough with them. Bottom is Garza, Seipel, Flanagan, Reel, Matthew David Wood, then Meyering. 3 by 3, 5 rows deep at the front. Person trying to get the outside rolling, but it's all Adam Garza here off 4 as he'll cover Conklin as Conklin covers Person. How about the teamwork for Garza and Conklin to this point?
Teamwork's the name of the game whenever we come to this type of racetrack. I'll tell you one thing. They have got the Jack Shack lined up on the middle lane. Now they'll go to the bottom. As a matter of fact, it'll be 2 Jack Shacks, one leading the bottom, one leading the top now, or the bottom in the middle lane. My mistake there, as Garza and Conklin continue to lead them down to Talladega Super Straightaway. And really, now you're starting to see the guys get into a rhythm. Now you're seeing, all right, 2 cautions. We're ready to go. We want to race. As Mark Person down to the bottom of Seipel. Garza sees it. He'll go down. Conklin to the middle lane. And right now, I say, every time I say they're about to calm down, they start throwing haymakers again. Co-owner of PGR, Matthew Baker, trying to work inside the top 5.
And he's going to look 4 wide. Baker up around Kyler Wynn. Hill tries to get around Garza. Garza's going to cover that. Mace in the 3rd lane. Warren Reed going with him. Donskoy coming as well. Baker got hung out in the wind. Nobody wants to go with the co-owner of PGR. He'll get led in by Reed. 5 rows deep in the field.
Ooh.
Conklin, Garza get disconnected.
Ooh.
Trouble. Conklin around off Wynn's bumper. Conklin, does he save it? He does, but now they spin more. Wynn, David Wood, Champagne come back across the racetrack in a multi-car crash.
I just need to learn to keep my mouth shut sometimes, I reckon. Well, they were doing good up until they weren't. So 3rd caution of the night, ironically, goes after. Never mind. Well, for Sean Conklin, I'm going to tell you, Dawson, I don't see a lot of damage to these cars. Kevin Champagne, maybe. No, not even Champagne, honestly. I think they'll be set, ready to go if they even have 30 seconds worth of damage done to the machine. Well, I say that Jeff Byers looks like a little bit of damage to that right front machine. So, honestly, Dawson, I'm going to say again, I think they got away with one more time.
I think so, too, with where this one started. Again, this is Conklin, who was top 3 rows in the field. They got turned right across the leaders on the backstretch, and I'm surprised none of them got the inside wall. I thought for sure that at least Kyler Wynn was going to get the inside wall a ton. I think he still does hit it. Certainly that car did not look as worse for wear as I thought it would when he first went across the racetrack there. That looked like it was going to be a big-time hit for the 82. And again, I think he got away. Champagne looks okay. So does Conklin in the 17. So all the cars involved in this one, at least for now, appear to have gotten away relatively unscathed. We'll get ready in a second to go back and take a look at it. Note on Devin Sprecher real quick before we do. He is back on the racetrack. He is 2 laps down to the race leaders after the connection issue that we saw just a moment ago. So he's not out of this thing yet, especially the way they are racing up front and continue to throw these big haymaker sweeping blocks up front. And when incidents like this happen, it's going to help Devin Sprecher. You see here, Wynn into Conklin, and around goes several. Matthew David Woods in this, Meyring's in this. Ooh, Kyler Wynn did get the wall with the right front, and that may have caused some suspension damage for the driver of that red and white 82. And in fact, you see right there, that car is off kilter. Jim Bob, the 82, Kyler Wynn, your pick to win this race, has some damage.
Again, one of these times I just need to keep my mouth shut. But nonetheless, for Kyler Wynn, I mean, obviously that 82, we know that 82 is fast. I will say, one driver who did dodge a massive bullet will be that of the 11 of Kenny Reel. Right there on the bottom of that greenish black looking number 11, his teammate Flanagan gets knocked down to the apron. Reel taking evasive action and just, barely, by inches, missed getting turned by Kyler Wynn. From there, Conklin looks like he'll be fine. Champagne looks like he'll be fine. Them drivers really got away with one there, especially with that inside retaining wall. As I'm going to say, right on board now with Kenny Reel. Look at this here. Good God almighty. Just barely gets clipped enough to make it through and keep it straight.
So a moment there for Kenny Reel where he has his first moment of the race. Again, I'm not sure how Conklin kept it off the inside wall in the 17. He somehow looped that car back around before getting a piece of the wall. He does have some damage because he is sitting on pit road. You mentioned Byers. Matthew David Wood just came off pit road. Kyler Wynn continues to sit down there as well. So the third caution of this pole shootout race, just short of the halfway point. Mark Person is your race leader as of right now. He's got a teammate behind him in Alex Hill, a pair of Jack Shack teammates there. Adam Garza up to 3rd. Nick Seipel is 4th, and Jack Mace is in the 5th spot. The rest of the top 10, David Flanagan 6th, Scott Warren 7th, Kenny Reel 8th, Jackson Bies 9th. Matthew Baker has slipped back into the top 10 in the 10th spot. Another note, and something again I failed to mention at the beginning of this race, that, we're at the halfway point now. Drivers, unlike the heats and LCQs, are unable to communicate in the traditional methods that they would with their teammates tonight. For both this race and tomorrow's SummerSlam 499, drivers will not be able to jump in these 5, 6, 7 member voice channels, if you will, or traditional team communications that we have seen. The limit this week has been 5 drivers in the heats and LCQs that can talk directly to one another. They don't have that advantage in this race. You have to act purely on the words that you get from your spotter. You're allowed to have one spotter, and the action's on the racetrack. That's all you're allowed to have in this race. That was not the case back in the February race, the PGR 500. That's another wrinkle where a driver has their spotter in their ear, and that is it. They may have teammates on track, and they can coordinate moves all they want. And a lot of teammates have raced around each other long enough that they know when a certain driver is going to make a certain move. There's instinct in that. But the communication disadvantage in this race and tomorrow's race is sure to almost make the racing more pure. NASCAR drivers can't talk to their teammates anymore. They used to be able to. Remember back to 2011, the tandem drafting era. But they can't anymore, and that's going to be the case tomorrow. A really interesting wrinkle considering all the teammates we have in the field.
Again, basically it boils down to the consensus of this here. We mentioned luck a lot here lately, and again, as you said, some drivers' view on that. I will also go as far as to say you need luck and you need a good team to be successful in these types of races. Really, we're seeing that tonight. A lot of team aspect here. The Jack Shacks, the most notable of the teams right now. But you do got a couple nightmare drivers in the field. You got a couple of MMS drivers in the field. I mean, right now, it's basically, this has boiled down to more of a team effort than what it was back in the old days of money racing. Now, anybody joining, you need to find a team. And ultimately, it's got to be guys who really know what they're doing, know how to cash out, know how to really understand the draft and how it works. As Dawson, the field comes back down to the restart zone, and I'll let you take it away because, buddy, she about to get good.
Simrat Market restart zone. Again, I want to thank Simrat Market for their support of the PGR SummerSlam. $4.99. Save 10% on your first order with code PGR eSports. Mark Person, Jack Mace on the front row. Green flag back in the air. Only 8 cars out of the 24 took the inside lane on the juice cone a second to go by the way. Mace, Warren, and Reel the first 3 to do it. Baker did too, but he swings bottom to top. Reel swings bottom to top. And only all of a sudden 5 cars left on the bottom, and they're not connected at all. Jack Mace looks in the mirror and says, what in the world just happened here? Off turn 2, man, Garza comes back down. That was close with he and Seipel right there. It's again going to be close, as now he'll chop the nose of Seipel down the backstretch. Jack Shack 1-2 outside, but the push is in the middle. New leader to turn 3, Adam Garza.
Garza, ironically, a Jack Shack affiliated car. Oh, that goes around. Baker spins like a racetrack. Flanagan's involved. Kenna McCullough, I believe, goes into the outside wall. He does. There is Flanagan. Another car going through the infield. That is Max Danda. And that just threw a whole monkey wrench as Matthew Taylor spins to the apron as well. And there goes probably 2 favorites here tonight, Baker and Kenna McCullough, because that 03 machine, believe he'll take a wicked impact to the outside retaining wall. He does, back first.
Man, tough break for McCullough, tough break for Baker. And, yeah, I kind of saw this starting to brew. It looked like, I'm not sure if the move was intended, but Alex Hill somehow ended up almost 4 wide. He ended up way offset with his teammate Mark Person topside, and a bunch of cars came together. They squeezed into the same real estate, and it was Baker that was the first one that got turned. McCullough almost had this cleared. It was about a foot, maybe 2, that if he would have had another half a mile an hour, he would have gotten past this incident and been okay. And still, I don't see a ton of visual damage on the 03, really on the 5 either. We'll have to wait and see when he comes down pit road what the damage situation is for those 2 cars. But I don't see a ton of visual damage. We might have gotten away with another one. Here's a look at the replay. Watch Alex Hill and Person topside. Oh, Hill got a shot from out back. Jackson Baez shoved him forward and forced a staggered 4 wide with Hill and Person and Baker. And they all squeezed into the same hole there in the center lane. Nowhere for anybody to go. You're on board with David Flanagan, who was right behind this incident. And you see Hill there squeezed between the 2 cars. Baker's in the binders trying to get off of it as the 4 wide continued through turn 4. And nowhere to go for several cars. Man, Taylor and Flanagan involved in this late. And you saw the McCullough and Baker cars as well.
We can go back and get another shot of that from an aerial view right here. Perfect, actually. So right there, I mean, that is, I mean, yeah, it's kind of an off shot an offside hit from Jackson Byes, but really, I feel like the run that Byes had maybe a little too big to simply just roll off. Obviously, it's going to be one of the contributing factors to this, but it's just one of these things. Is the way I just look at it, kind of more of a racing deal. The run's coming. He ain't got no room to go. He rolls out the gas. A, it eliminates the entire run that he's got, and B, he had to sit there, retry it, re-rack it, and do it all over again. And really, it's just one of these things, Dawson. Like, this track may be 4 lanes wide, but even then, in some scenarios, that is not enough room to really have all these drivers with every run be able to work it out.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that several times over the course of the week to this point. So resetting the order for you, Adam Garza is plus 14 to where he now leads the race past the halfway mark. Kenny Reel, or rather Nick Seipel, runs second right ahead of Kenny Reel, who you're looking at on your screen there. Plus 13 for Kenny Reel and the Jack Shack team in this one. Jack Mace is plus 5 to the 4th spot with Mark Person still hanging around in the 5th position. Scott Warren is up to 6th, the underdog winner of his heat earlier in the week, looking to make it one better and start on pole tomorrow. It would surely be another upset for the driver of the 76. Alex Hill runs back in the 7th spot. Right in front of Cody Reed in 8th. Jackson Byes runs in 9th, and Yaroslav Donskoy makes an appearance in the top 10 in the 10th spot. Again, updating on some cars that have had some trouble. McCullough, Wynn, Byers, and Flanagan all sit on pit road repairing some damage here under this caution. Matthew Taylor has called it a night as of lap 18. He's gone behind the wall. He joins Logan York and John Ellis, the only cars to retire from this race tomorrow. They will start 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, respectively. Devin Sprecher got back on the lead lap, by the way, after these quick couple of cautions. So he's gotten both those laps back and gotten back to a lead lap position and is very much back in contention here to win the race and start on the pole. It looks like Baker at least has gotten off pit road. His car appears to be fully repaired. The same cannot be said for McCullough, Byers, Flanagan, and Wynn. A couple of those cars will roll off pit road. Wynn, actually all 4 of them, will beat the pace car off. But Wynn still has some damage. Byers still has some damage. Kenny McCullough does as well.
Still plenty of time the way this race is trending so far. Still some time for these drivers to get a little bit more damage fixed, if they have any. And right now, Garza, Mace, Seipel, Reel, Warren will be your top 5. Reed, Person, Alex Hill, Jackson Byes, Mariner will be your top 10. And honestly, we're not quite too far away for 10 to go. I still feel like these guys may go 3 wide, but I'm pretty sure they're done pushing the issue. And if they aren't, well, I can't say I blame them. I mean, it'd be a hell of a thing to say, hey, I started on the front row in 2026. SummerSlam 499, let alone the pole. So this is kind of going to be 50-50 chance. Either A, we get back to the green flag runs as we're going. As right now, 15 laps to go. You see it at the top of the pylon. 14 when they take the green flag. Dawson make or break. Either they race it out a little bit more or it's going to figure out, it's going to be survival into who makes the pole position and determine the front row and first through 24th for the SummerSlam 499 tomorrow afternoon.
I'll tell you, the desperation you talked about was not on the choose, because all but 5 cars initially that weren't damaged took the inside lane back to Kevin Champagne, and that was it. The damaged cars, Will, that's McCullough and Wynn and Flanagan and a couple of other Jeff Byers. So all the damaged cars, for the most part, went down there. But only 5 cars that were not involved in that incident took the bottom lane. Again, back to Champagne in 9th. So an interesting trend in that regard, that really there's just not a lot of drivers that want to go down and test the waters in the bottom lane. Adam Garza continues to lead over Jack Mace with 14 laps to go in the pole shootout. To the Simrat Market restart zone we go one more time. Green flag. Garza goes. Mace timed it up pretty well. With the help is better up top. Seipel got a good jump. The 2 Jack Shack teammates, Reel and Person, did. Reed tries to split Warren down to the bottom line. It doesn't work, and Tony Meyerings, the unlucky driver in that, as he'll end up in the middle of Jackson Byes and Kevin Champagne.
Garza will bring him off of turn number 2. They'll work down the back straightaway again. Alex Hill fades up to the top lane right in front of Jackson Buys as they work down the back straightaway. Hill moves up into a top 5 spot right now. Garza has to deal with not 1, not 2, but 4. Jackson will go down to the bottom, and Garza, they'll say thanks for coming. Next Seipel right back up to the top spot. Garza back in line. Hill looks to the outside. Garza cuts him off. As Seipel brings him down, is a Jack Shack. 1, 2, 3. Through the trail, and this time, Mace trying to get that bottom lane to work. As right now, here comes Garza to the bottom again. However, it'll still be a Jack Shack now. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outside lane.
And Donskoy is 5th in line now. He's got Conklin with him, a pair of drivers that know each other awfully well. Kevin Champagne's behind them in line. Then it's Jackson Vice for Nightmare eSports. But it's Jack Shack 1 through 4 at the front of the field. They've been so good all week, and they're trying to put one of their cars on the front row and on the pole for the biggest race of the summer. Hill trying to block Donskoy all the way to the double yellow. It doesn't work. Conklin fakes out Donskoy and actually goes with Alex Hill instead. He'll bring Garza with him. Dinda through on the bottom. Kenny McCullough through on the bottom. Cody Reed through on the bottom. Person throws the block on Champagne. That was topside as they've got more help on the way. Matthew David Wood, Kyler Wynn trying to join their teammates at the front, as is Flanagan. Up front, they're going to split. Reel to the outside of Seipel. Seipel has to go all the way to the bottom. He'll cover Hill in the middle. It's now Seipel, Hill, Person in the middle lane. Reel, Conklin, and Garza topside. Champagne, Buys, Matthew David Wood join the party off 2 as it's back to 2 wide.
2 by 2, down and back straight away. Seipel, Reel right now in first control. Reed down to the below the WL line. He's going to fall all the way back, even further back now to 21st as the field works in turn number 3. Side by side still. Here comes Buys and McCullough on the outside lane. Garza sees it. Garza's up to the 3rd lane now. A big run. Alex Hill is going to try to start a run. He will. But however, Seipel not a block, and they're wrecking in the back.
They're wrecking big in the back of the trial. Multiple cars. Champagne, Kenny McCullough's in this. Sean Conklin is in this. Matthew David Wood got a spin in this as well in the 16. There's multiple cars come to a style. Man, Scott Warren, tough break for him as he's involved in the secondary in the trial, trying to get that car to grab and drive away. It looks like, again, everybody will drive away for the most part. So we continue to get lucky on the damage aspect. But I'll tell you what, you called that block from Alex Hill, Jim Bob, and the stack up that it caused when he came across Adam Garza's nose, worked backwards. By the time it got back to Warren and Kenny McCullough and company, it was just too much to handle.
Well, looking at it here, and of course you're hitting the nail on the head. As far as the block goes, it's a block that we see a lot, and about a 50-50 shot that it'll cause this to stack up on the outside lane. And we mentioned earlier in the LCQs how the message does not get all the way to the back in time to avoid it. And what you'll see on the replay here, the block happens, they check up, and unfortunately it does not get to Danda, I believe, Euroshek as you pronounced it. It does not get back to them. The 18, a shot to the back of the 48, and then ultimately that shot gave to Ken McCullough, which will turn McCullough around. And again, I am very surprised that it happens in the back half and does not involve any more cars than what it does. So while it's a big break for the front runners, it is not a big break for McCullough, Champagne, and others here, as really the only other ones to really catch a break from this would be Kyler Wynn and Tony Mariner, who went down pit road to avoid all this.
Yeah, I think the more surprising part, you talk about it happening in the back half of the field, not up front. I'm actually more surprised that Adam Garza was able to square up Alex Hill. As quick as that move happened off of 4, Garza was getting pushed from behind, and they had to have been going 8 to 10 miles an hour faster than the Alex Hill car when he threw that block up front. And in trying to square him up, we've seen so many times this week that car moves around. The Garza car in this case, the car trying to square up the push, moves around enough that this push is not square. Man, how do Garza and Buys square up that push? Now further back the stack up, Dinda into McCullough, and it's on from there. But how in the world does Garza square up that push to keep even more of the front runners from crashing in this? You see McCullough come in, Conklin slides to the grass, Warren, Champagne, amongst others. You'll see it again here. Watch Hill make the move to the top. Boy, are Garza and Buys and company lucky that push got squared up, or this would have been 5, 6, 7 more cars.
Really wouldn't call it so much luck as for say this one time I won't. I think honestly there's some kind of a perfect storm type of deal, just that one particular area. And the big thing here is you look at it slow, Buys is basically, he's still squared up to Garza anyway, which kind of helps. Now right there, I can kind of see where you're coming from, but even then, I think it's still a perfect storm. They're just are completely off the banking out of 4. Buys gets half of the center of the bumper, which is just enough. Unfortunately, again, for those back, you saw how hard Buys got into the back of the one for the checkup, and then it just intensifies from there. And eventually something was going to snap and break, and it would happen to be the shot that Max Danda inadvertently gave Kenneth McCullough due to the checkup that we saw.
So we'll get ready to reset and go back under the green flag, and attrition starts to take hold in this pole shootout race. We're down to really just about 12, 13 cars that have not been involved in an incident. In fact, I think it's less than that. We're down to about 10 that have been involved in an incident. And yeah, you called it, Jim Bob. Good call. I believe Alex Hill has been disqualified, and he has. So Alex Hill's been given the cause of caution penalty and has been disqualified from this race as such. A similar fate as what Logan York got on that first caution for cause of caution. Alex Hill will also not start on the pole. He's been disqualified for that block off of turn 4. So he will start 21st in tomorrow's race, as again, we get into attrition. I think I count about 10 cars at this point, if that have not been involved in an incident. And in fact, the number may be even less than that. You can count Garza as being involved. Matthew Wood's been involved in one. Donskoy's been involved in one. We're down to about a quarter of the field that started this race. 6 cars that I counted, or something like that, Jim Bob, that have not been involved in a wreck. 18 of the 24 that started have been involved in something tonight.
Well, and I can kind of attest to that, or help aid to that, I should say, because right now you look at the top 7, really just the top 7, and about 5 of those have been the guys who have been at the front, and I'll call them out: Seipel, Garza, Person, Jack Mace up there. I mean, really, them are the guys who have practically been at the front and have stayed there, which, to our surprise, really, the front here has been more safer, knock on wood, than what it has been in the back. I would throw McCullough on that list after being up there earlier, but McCullough's night from hell continues, as he is now going to have to come from 15th now to have a shot at getting the pole. But I got to say, I do like what I see at the front with Kenny Real, with Seipel, with Garza, Mace, Jackson Buys a threat here. Pace cars in this time as they come to the Simrat Market restart zone. Dawson, 8 to go. She's about to get let loose.
She's been let loose for a while here, Jim Bob, with 8 laps to go in this race, but Seipel will get the jump in the restart zone way ahead of Kenny Real. It's not quite the window there. Seipel ahead by a car length. Real will be there first. Inside lined up as such: Wood, Donskoy, Mace, Sprecher, then Champagne. Kevin Champagne jumps out of line as soon as he can behind the Jackson Bias machine further back in the field. Cody Reed thinking about upstairs off turn 2. Nope, just squaring up Champagne for a push. Conklin's going to go upstairs and try the rail run. Nobody going with him yet. Kyler Winston of the field. Jackson Bias hangs it right. Kenny Real out of shape, and that's the save of the week so far for Kenny Real. Not only does he save the car, but he stays leading the middle lane back to turn 3.
Put it out there right with Dylan Bazin earlier in this event as one car below the bottom. That'll be Wood. He's going to drop like a rock to an anchor as he'll go all the way back from potential pole spot to outside top 15 at the front. Seipel, Person, Garza, they are coming and are coming big. Bottom lane trying to get worked up. Here comes Kenny Real with Kevin Champagne 4 wide into turn number 1.
Yeah, Kenny Real doesn't want to be denied this week either. He's been one of the best drivers in these marquee events. His PGR 500 came to an early end in February. He's trying to make sure that fate doesn't hit again here in August. Oh, he's trying to throw a block on Cody Reed. That almost didn't work down the back. He'll go to the bottom, back to the help of Champagne. Reed in the center with Conklin. And I believe that is Dinda. No, it's not Dinda. Sorry, it's Jack Mace. And look who just poked his nose out. The right front's not completely straight on that car, but he says who cares. Kyler Wynn to the push of Cody Reed. Buys to the push of Wynn. Cycle to the push of Buys. Wynn upstairs trying to get around Garza's. He looked to the safer barrier. And now back to the middle. Pinball in the tri-oval. Wynn trying to get between. No way this works, and it doesn't. Cody Reed around. Champagne. Person get involved. And the caution's back out again.
What memo did we miss tonight? I swear, well, we knew it coming in. 4 wide, and honestly, dare I say, they may have been trying to go 5 wide. Can you not tell these guys are pumped up or not? Because right now, we're going to take a look at it here on our side, and Danda comes down into the 17. And from there, I mean, it happens above there. I mean, that's just guys just doing everything they can. There's the shot. Max and the Kyler Wynn, really, Dawson, just the way it looks when the replay is showing, it just looks like guys just throwing. They can't get away from each other. Everybody's trying to fit about 8 cars into one lane, and they all just come together. And honestly, this is patience going out the window at this point.
Now, you asked the question a second ago, what memo did we miss? Jim Bob, I'll argue we did not miss one. Again, I think we kind of prefaced at the top of the show, these guys being locked in kind of helps. Again, if these guys would risk elimination tonight, if they were in an LCQ earlier, they would not be racing like this. Obviously, the blocks, the pushes would still be aggressive, but they would not be over the line like they've been tonight. These guys know they're racing tomorrow, and so as such, they're racing like it. You know, because the pole is on the line, they're throwing all the big moves now. And again, it kind of works in 2 ways. Number one, you know you're not going to get eliminated, but number 2, you're finding the limit for tomorrow. And really add on another point, you know, even if you do start 20th, if for some reason you get crashed out, you get disqualified, whatever the case may be, as we get a look back at it here, whatever the case may be, you're finding the line, and tomorrow is 188 laps. You could start 18th, and in this package, the way it's been this week, it just does not matter. Man, you said it, Jim Bob. 8 cars come together in real estate there. They pinball off of each other 3 or 4 times. And Cody Reed spins through the grass. Nowhere to go for Mark Person, as he's the other car primarily involved in this one. But again, we get away with another one. When Kyler Wynn made that move to the outside and they pinballed off of each other, I thought for sure we were about to pile up 10, 12, 14 cars.
Man, I hate to be a landscaper that's got to do this before the race starts tomorrow. I swear. Because right now, there's here right on board with Kenny Real. Just, again, guys just going for everything and Real into the back of the 25. But honestly, I don't think Kenny could help it at that point. You're right. If Kenny rolls out the gas, then I believe he suffers the same fate as what the 25 did. Again, fortunate that it did not take out as many cars as what it did. And honest to God, I think Reed and others are able to keep going here. Dawson, the way it looks, if I do the math right, it's either going to be 3 to go or a natural green-white checkered here to end the pole shootout for the 2026 SummerSlam 499. And I just don't think we've seen everything yet. I truly believe that.
We surely haven't the way this race has gone. It is lap 31 right now, so it will be 3 laps to go when we go under the green flag here in just a moment. Double checking before we get back under the green flag here just to make sure that I know for sure how many green-white checkers we have, and it is in fact just the 1. So if we get another caution, if there is another incident, we'll go into the one and only overtime attempt. And again, that has been the rule throughout the heats, the LCQs, and now for this race, just 1 attempt. Now this is not it. We're going to get a 3 laps to go restart here, but just preparing you for that if we get to it. And I'll tell you, as we get ready to choose here, Jim Bob, I just would not be shocked if the field decides to use that 1 green-white checkered attempt the way they've been racing tonight. Now, you talked about 10 to go. 3 to go is ultimate crunch time, and some of the moves we've seen made in the late stages of this race have led me to believe we are not going to end this one in regulation as they choose. Nick Seipel leads back to the choose, and he's going to go to the bottom. So Nick Seipel, a bit of an aggressive move here to go from the bottom and try to launch off the bottom of the racetrack. It's proven to work at some points. Garza buys, Conklin holds serve topside, Wynn and Kenny Reel follow Seipel to the bottom with Jack Mace. Dinda and McCullough will line up 4th and 5th on the outside lane. Seipel has been working with the Jack Shack cars this week. Kyler Wynn, Kenny Reel going to line up with him on the inside here for this restart. We just saw the move that Kyler Wynn was willing to make. Now he'll be 3rd on a restart with the pole position for tomorrow's SummerSlam 499 just in front of him.
Just going to say, you took the word right out of my mouth. I believe the only reason that Seipel went to the bottom was just because he has them 3 teammates behind him. One, technically, just an alliance, but a teammate nonetheless in Kenny Reel. But Seipel will have Kyler Wynn and Kenny Reel right behind him. I'm kind of going to be interesting to see how Garza and Buys and Conklin will be able to work here on that outside lane. The outside lane has had the best results firing off and going in turn number 1 and 2. But if the chance that Buys or the 17 does not fire off, I mean, Garza might lead him with the jump that he'll get going in turn number 1, but he will be stalled out by the time Buys gets to the back bumper of him. Meanwhile, the 2 or 3 teammates on the bottom, they'll all be lined up, ready to go. So this right here, this is an interesting call with 3 to go. Teammates on the bottom, and I wouldn't say complete strangers on the outside, but definitely a different take of characters on the outside as we get set here.
3 laps to go as the field works back to the Simrat Market restart zone. I cannot wager that this will be the last restart of the night. We do have the 1 overtime attempt in the back pocket if, and some would say when, we will need it. But these guys have a chance. If they make it 2 laps, we'll finish it right here. Green flag, Seipel off and running. A good jump on the bottom of the racetrack. Wynn and Reel both went behind him. That is what the doctor ordered for the bottom lane right there as the top 3 cars all go. Top 7 connected up top back to Meyering. Garza will get a bit of a run, but they will not be able to outpush the Shack cars on the bottom. 3 cars clear as the 3rd lane with Champagne, and Kenny McCullough starts to get going out back.
3 wide already, not taking long. As predicted, the bottom lane paid dividends, but it paid dividends for Kyler Wynn and Nick Seipel. Kenny Reel shuffle back to 8th, right now 9th, trying to stay in the top 10. Here comes Garza to the bottom again. Buys will stay in the middle lane. Nobody goes with Garza at the moment. Seipel and Wynn right back up there on the block. Conklin and McCullough now. There'll be 2 laps to go this time as the field comes into the tri-oval now. Mace trying to get the third lane, or the bottom lane working. Here comes Champagne with a run to the inside.
It's Kevin Champagne that pokes the nose in clean air. Donskoy, Mark Persson start to work into the front of the field as they'll work up the banking of 1 and 2. Donskoy to the center, no help yet. Champagne, Garza, and Buys have a big run on the bottom. Seipel has to jump off Wynn's bumper and cover it. They'll go back up to Wynn on the outside of the back straightaway, though. That's going to allow that bottom lane uninhibited run down the Alabama Gang super stretch, and Kevin Champagne goes to the lead of the pole shootout. Here's the rail run. Conklin, McCullough, Mark Persson get a big run into turn 3, and Champagne leads them back to the white flag.
The first time Kevin Champagne has led all night, it seems like. Right now, here it comes, Garza to the outside. A big block by Champagne on Kyler Wynn. It fails. Yours stick around in the back. Caution is out before they get to the start-finish line. And they're slowing down. Dawson, they needed another 500 feet, and it would have been official, but we're going overtime.
I'm actually a little bit surprised, and I'll mention this briefly before we get a quick look at this incident that's going to send us to overtime. By the way, some of the cars involved: Matthew David Wood, Max Dinda, Devin Smrecker, Tony Meyering, Yaroslav Donskoy, Matthew Baker, and David Flanagan appear to be the cars involved in this, the 7th caution of this pole shootout race, as we will now head into our one and only overtime attempt. But something I'll mention before we get a look at it is, over the past few months, there was an update with the iRacing service back a few months ago, where if you tried to initiate a caution close enough to the start-finish line, it would not get thrown. It just would not let you throw the caution, and the race would get to the white flag. It was almost a point of no return style system that got put into effect, and I'm a little bit surprised that iRacing allowed race control to throw the caution there. I'm a little surprised that it did not just trigger the white flag, but nonetheless, we'll re-rack, and we'll go to overtime for the one and only attempt. as we'll start to head back and take a look at this one. And again, they needed about another 1,000 feet.
Huh? You win some, you lose some. I'm like you, I am surprised as I'll take a quick look here and see kind of what I see. Okay, here's the replay. Hell yeah. So, Kevin Champagne, he went for a big block, but back in the back, Matthew Baker, run from hell. It looked like and tried to go 4 wide, maybe, perhaps. Saw a gap at one point that was there, but just as quickly as he goes for it, it gets shut on him. And from there, it is on again in the back half of the field. But nonetheless, it's an overtime as Flanagan gets a shot from this. You're right on board with Matthew Baker. One more look at it here. You see the run that they get. They go 4 wide. The door just gets shut on Baker. He'll slide up into the wall along with about another 3 or 4 cars. And Dawson, these are the kind of runs that I'm expecting to see in this very same point of time tomorrow for the SummerSlam 499. I'm expecting guys, if they see a run like that, they are going to take it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Again, what you're seeing in the late stages of this one, probably pretty similar to what we're going to see tomorrow, as kind of everything's laid on the line and your chips are on the table. I'll tell you what I saw, and then I'll tell you what the official decision was, because I don't think they quite line up. I thought Baker was trying for a gap there and got into Donskoy. I thought he was trying for a gap, coming to the white flag. Again, it's desperation moment. It may be your only shot to get in position to win. And, you could argue he established the line. Race Control has decided to give the penalty here to Jaroslav Donskoy. Donskoy's been disqualified here, headed into overtime. So I thought maybe at worst it might have been a racing deal. Those 4 cars were kind of all together. They were 4 wide in the trial, but I thought at worst it could be a racing deal. When I first looked at it, Race Control, obviously, is putting the onus on Donskoy. So Donskoy's night is over. He is going to start what looks to be 20th in tomorrow's SummerSlam 499 in the 10 machine. So make that 5 cars behind the wall. Again, those cars are John Ellis, Logan York, Matthew Taylor, Alex Hill, and Jaroslav Donskoy. 2 by virtue of damage, 3 by virtue of cause of caution disqualifications, which I think tells you all you need to know about the way that this race has gone. 19 cars still in it, 3 cars on pit road. Matthew Wood, Matthew Baker, and David Flanagan all still sit on pit road, fixing a little bit of damage. In fact, Baker just got out of his pit box and will roll back to the field. So too did MDW. So it will leave about 18 cars in a position, make it 19 as Flanagan rolls off pit road, in a position to get into this. And considering some of the heat endings we've seen, again, as we choose here at the line, top 3 go to the top. Garza, Cycle, Win, all go to the top. Champagne to the bottom. But it's going to be pretty lonely sledding down there, Jim Bob, because I'm looking back through the field. It takes all the way back to 9th place Mark Person, who will go from 9th to 3rd on this final restart. But as I was saying a moment ago, remember back to Heat 7. Anton Poliakov came up off the bottom on the overtime restart, and in a crash that wiped out 12 cars out of that heat race on the final restart, including several that were in transfer positions. You got to imagine that's on some of the drivers' minds here. If you're a driver 15th, 16th, 17th in line, Dinda, Byers, Baker, Wood, Flanagan, this thing is not over considering the racing we've seen at the front of the field.
Oh, and then you think back to the last lap with Chase Mastrota from 26th to 9th to get into an LCQ spot earlier tonight. It's never over here at Talladega and Daytona. You'll see it in the PGR 500 in February. You'll see it tonight, and you'll see it tomorrow. It cannot be truer. It is never over until it's officially over. And what we've seen so far, kind of the trend is drivers willing to lay it all out on the white flag, and about 8 times out of 10, we have seen that it ends in disasters, not just for the drivers who at one point was in the transfer spot, but also in guys who we would think did not have nothing to worry about, just all depend on where the accidents happen. But to your point, you're all right. Them guys back there, Matthew Baker has had a night from hell, but he could easily walk out of here with a great starting spot tomorrow. In the same breath, before we go back green here as the field approaches the restart zone, penalties after the fact can play a factor. Dawson, I'll let you take away the final restart.
Garza, Champagne on the front row. Green flag, Garza fires first on the outside, but the inside got a little bit more connected start. Helped be there first for Champagne. And actually, Garza's going to dip top to bottom here. He'll go to the double yellow up the banking of turn one. He may turn back up the hill, or he may not. Kyler Wynn not able to get to Nick Seipel quite yet, and Garza, the onus is on him to make the decision. Can he block it off too? He can, but it was daring. Seipel around, multiple cars to the inside. That was Person and Champagne, and they're out of it down the backstretch.
Well, he had to go for it, and he went for it. Garza will lead him in turn number 3. A half all right. That's definitely going to be reviewed by race control. 4 wide, back further behind them. Everybody now trying to come to the front. Kyler Wynn trying to make something happen. He finds Seipel. Teammates now working as Garza will bring him down to the start-finish line. White flag, 1 lap to go to determine who starts on the pole for tomorrow's race.
Garza leads back to turn 1. Conklin is his push for now. The move, if they come off turn 4 single file, would not be until the last possible moment for the bodyguard Ford Mustang in second. Byes backs up. Jackson Byes backs up a big run. McCullough's with him. That would be the onus, but Seipel on the bottom. Fires first with Kyler Wynn and Kenny Reel. Here's Conklin. Here's Byes. They tried 3 wide. Conklin bullies Byes out of line. Now 2x2 in 3 and 4. The onus now, who's got the better push, and does Kenny McCullough take a shot out of line here off turn 4 to try to get the pole? Conklin's got the push on the bottom. Garza's got the push on the top. It's an old-fashioned 80s style drag race back to the tri-oval. Garza, Conklin, side by side for the pole in the SummerSlam. Adam Garza wins the pole shootout and unofficially will lead the field to green tomorrow.
Second, let's go, baby. Ken McCullough comes on second. Conklin third, by Seipel unofficially your top 5. Whew. Lord have mercy. What a run. Adam Garza showed tonight that number 1 machine did not lead the front for the majority of the night. And right now, unofficially, I only say unofficially because I believe race control may review the incident off of turn number 2, as well as the one coming to the line. But for right now, unofficially, Dawson, Adam Garza will be starting on the front row for the biggest race of the summer. And more importantly, will be headlining and coming to the front against some of the biggest names in money racing today.
Well, again, he will do the burnouts here. For now, unofficially, he's the winner. But as he does his burnouts, I want to remind everyone what the call was on Alex Hill just a little while ago in the 77. He threw a very similar block to what Adam Garza just threw earlier in the race. Garza has yet to start doing burnouts, and that could be the first indication that something has happened here. We are, again, will await official word. We don't have any yet at this point. So again, hold off for now because Garza is not doing any burnouts here, Jim Bob. He has pulled it to a stop on the front stretch as of this moment.
Right now, in the anticipation, if he is to not be the winner, he will start somewhere around 19th at the start. So right now, as we await word from race control at the moment, right now, unofficially, Garza, McCullough, Conklin, Jackson Byes, Nick Seipel are your top 5. Danda will come on 6. It'll be Mace, Warren, Kenny Reel, Kyler Wynn. Again, cannot stress it enough, unofficial at the moment, as I think right now they're trying to contemplate how they want to do it here because it's taking a bit of a while for race control to make up their mind, but rather than be sure about it than to blow a call for as big as the stakes are in this race.
Well, again, this is the difference between starting first in tomorrow's SummerSlam 499 and starting, like you said, as far back as 19th. Now, again, it may be higher than that. It may be closer to 17th. Remember, Kevin Champagne and Mark Person, I'm not sure. Well, Champagne was able to finish. Mark Person was not. And as such, it would be 18th, the starting spot, if Garza were to get disqualified right here. Again, we are completely in the dark at this point. We do not have a call at this point. No, we are not in the dark, at least from what I'm hearing unofficially. It appears as if Garza will be called for the block on turn 1. And as such, if that is the case, Kenny McCullough Jr. has won the pole shootout and will start on pole tomorrow. And I talked about it in his heat race. That's a heck of a moment. We're going to wait for confirmation on that, but I'm seeing some things from some drivers that were kind of listening into race control. It does appear as if that is the case. We're going to take a look back, but the call appears to be Garza end of line for the block that he threw going into turn 3 for the final time. It was a massive block. Race control opts to make the same call as they did with Alex Hill. Here's the last lap again. Bies and McCullough make the run to the inside here on the back straightaway, and you're going to see the block was actually before this, I believe, on the opening lap. Here's the run back to the checkered flag, though. Garza outside, Conklin inside. And Jim Bob, obviously we know now McCullough's the winner, but this was a good old-fashioned drag race.
I'm going to tell you, hell yeah, Kenny, hell yeah. But I'll go back to the call. Granted, they called it exactly how they called it on Alex Hill earlier on, but I got to say that the only key difference, which don't matter now, regardless of the fact, it caused a wreck on the back straightaway, and it ended a few drivers' nights in trying to improve their position for the SummerSlam, but push came to shove, it was going for the front row in the biggest race of the summer. And I'm sure, even though the outcome is not what Adam Garza wants, I'm pretty sure he would not be the only one to throw that block like he did, especially considering the stakes that we saw just in tonight and getting on the pole position. But tomorrow, $2,000 on the line. I got to say, this will probably not be the last time we will see that block. This will not be the last time we see that block happen tonight, especially with the last chance provisionals coming up here following the conclusion of this race. But for the SummerSlam tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk about it in a second when we close things, Jim Bob, but I think you saw a standard get set tonight for that block. I think that call being made twice in the same race sets a standard for drivers tomorrow if the same thing were to happen as well. Let's look at the results. Again, these are going to be changed a little bit. You see Adam Garza there. He was disqualified for the block on the second to last lap of this race. So as such, Kenny McCullough Jr. is the winner of the pole shootout officially now from race control. He'll start on the pole tomorrow. We're going to talk to him here in just a second. We'll also try to talk to Sean Conklin, who is going to start outside of the front row. Jackson Bies comes home third with Nick Seipel in the fourth spot. Max Dinda in the fifth position. Jack Makes back in sixth. Scott Warren will finish in the seventh spot with Kenny Reel in eighth. And Kyler Wynn will finish in ninth, again officially after the disqualification. Matthew Baker comes home 10th with Cody Reed in 11th. Tony Meyering in 12th. Jeff Byers in 13th. Matthew David Wood in 14th. Devin Sprecher, in 15th. David Flanagan in 16th. Kevin Champagne did finish the race in 17th, so as such, that is where Garza will slot in, will be 18th starting spot tomorrow. Mark Person finishes 2 laps down. He was unable to finish the race after the incident on the backstretch. He finishes 19th, and Matt Taylor finishes in the 20th spot. Final 4 cars in the race, or final 4 cars. You see the 2 at the end, Carlbon and Hastings. They were in as spotters. Disregard them on the full results. John Ellis finishes 21st, Yaroslav Donskoy in 22nd, Alex Hill in 23rd, Logan York in 24th. That will be how they will start tomorrow for the SummerSlam 499. It's time to talk to the drivers who will start on the front row for tomorrow afternoon's SummerSlam 499. And who better to start with than the captain for McCullough Motorsports, the man who will sit on pole for the SummerSlam 499. A win in his heat race, a win in the pole shootout. Kenny McCullough is 2 for 2. Kenny, it's the boys in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got y'all.
Well, obviously, again, and I mentioned this, this word a little bit ago. Not the way you anticipated to win this race, coming across the line in second. But after the call to Adam Garza, it's been made official. You'll be the man leading the field to green tomorrow for the SummerSlam 499. First off, Kenny, how does it feel?
Let's go. It feels great, man. I hate to win one like that, but in money racing scene, you'll take them however you can get them.
Well, look, now, obviously, with the racing we saw tonight, obviously tomorrow with 188 laps, you'd expect some restraint for some of the drivers on the racetrack. How do you think tonight is going to translate to tomorrow? Do you think it will translate at all as we get ready for the SummerSlam 499?
I know I should probably be aggressive like I have been all week, but you know me, that's a long race. I'm probably going to bide my time and and take it easy. I think it's going to be aggressive at the start. I think if it gets spread out a little bit, we could get a green flag stop. I think everything will calm down a little bit. But man, I made it, and I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait.
I'll hand the floor over to my co-host, Jim Bob Garrett Jenkins. Jim Bob, any questions for the captain from McCullough Motorsports, the winner of the pole shootout?
Boss man, I got to say, I told you top of the show, give me something to talk about. Hell of a job tonight. I got to ask you though, did you feel like the way the night started, then how it went into what is I like to say a night from hell out at the start through the middle of it? Did you anticipate coming back? And of course, not the way you want to do it, but nonetheless, a pole for the biggest race of the summer is a pole for the biggest race of the summer. What was going through your mind that entire race from the first lap to lap 35, and even in the overtime? What was going through the mind of Kenny McCullough?
Man, I actually think I was involved in every wreck that happened there. Unfortunately, it wasn't really bad damage. I think I wound up little over 3 minutes of damage, got it all fixed. Never really lost any speed. I was still strong. As you could tell, I could still make moves wherever I wanted. It's all about picking the right line at the right time. And, man, these races are something else. I love this package. They've done a really good job with this setup. I know it creates huge runs, big checkups. That's what's causing a lot of the cautions, people pushing 8, 9, 10 in line. But I do know you got to do that for that line to move, and that's what makes it bad. But awesome job to Baker and them for the setup they got on here. It's racy for sure.
Well, buddy, damn in the game, racy for sure. I will say we've seen the aggressive side of McCullough, and we've obviously seen the conservative side for the longest time. I got to say, to me, that is still a dangerous combination for the field to have the discipline and lay back, but also still have it to turn it up when it needs to be. I got to say, bottom dollar. Long race. We talk about luck comes in waves. I got to say, right now, do you feel like the wave right now is on Kenneth McCullough to win the SummerSlam 499 tomorrow?
Yeah, man, I'm going to go out there and give it everything I got, and hopefully have a shot there at the end with, 10 to go. You know how them races are. They get crazy, especially if we have a late caution at the end. But I'm so much looking forward to it. I think I missed it last year. I might have missed it a year before that. I think in the 500 last year in my heat, I was leading, I think, on the bottom there and got turned on the last lap. But you know how these things go. You got to have, it takes a lot of skill to get where you at, but it takes a whole lot of luck to finish there.
Dawson?
Kenny, obviously a big win for you. Now you're the man who will lead the field to green tomorrow, a huge achievement. Before we let you go and start the game plan and prep for 499 miles, are there any thank yous or shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, gotta thank CCR, Flying Aces, Chris Carter. He's the primary sponsor on all the team's cars this week. Like I said the other night in the interview, Chris has done a lot for this community. Gotta thank my spotter there, Devin. He was looking out for me, giving me, some good advice there. Gotta thank the MMS team. We've been around here for a long time doing this, and just the support from all the drivers and all the promoters, and the awesome broadcast job y'all do, man. Where else can you go and have this kind of fun for a little bit of money?
Have a lot of fun tomorrow as you'll lead the field to green in the SummerSlam 499. Kenny, congratulations on the win tonight in the pole shootout, and best of luck tomorrow as you look to bring home a championship belt.
Appreciate it. Hell yeah, let's go.
An elated Kenny McCullough Jr. there. The captain from McCullough Motorsports will bring the field to green in the biggest race of the summertime. Let's talk to the other man on the front row while we have a chance here. He'll start second tomorrow. It's another start in a marquee event for Sean Conklin, who I thought was one of the best cars on the racetrack tonight. Looked calm, looked confident, looked calculated in his moves. Almost gets the job done, comes up one spot short, and he'll start second tomorrow. The driver of the 17, Sean Conklin. Sean, it's the boys in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, sure.
Well, this one tonight, I don't even know where to start. Obviously, we get the call at the end of the race. Just kind of take me through the last two laps of this chaotic race from Talladega in the pole shootout.
Just trying to hold the top and survive. We held the top all the way to the end there. I thought I could get a huge push from the run coming from third, but I mistimed it. I got a push, just not as big of one as I would like or expected, so couldn't jump up in front of Garza, and that kind of soiled my plans there a little bit. So we just had to settle there on the inside, try to get all we could. But yeah, either way, I think we still get second after that, and still decent payout and front row for tomorrow. So yep, looking forward to tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a little bit less cautions.
Well, that kind of segues me nicely into the second question. We saw the racing tonight. We saw the racing throughout the week in the heats and the LCQs earlier this evening. How do you feel like that racing is going to translate tomorrow? Obviously, it's a much longer distance. You would expect restraint, but how do you expect the drivers to react? As racy as this setup has been, how do you expect the race tomorrow to play out, especially early in the going?
I I expect them to calm down a little bit, but I don't know if I trust them to. I mean, we'll find out pretty early how they race. I mean, I think everybody's still going to be pretty racy. And I don't think anybody's just going to hang around just for fun or just try to keep yourself up there. But yeah, this the setup's pretty it can be pretty stable when you're pushing square, but as soon as you get like off centered, it can be very squirrely. So it's been difficult to get people to just push center and kind of keep everybody stable, but just one guy pushing off center sets off a chain reaction like it did earlier when I got caught in those two wrecks. But it seems to be pretty easy to gain spots with it. You're able to maneuver around in different lanes or move at different times, and we were go from the back to the front twice. So I think we'll be able to do something like that tomorrow if we get in a pinch, hopefully just without any damage, and we can keep our race going. But yeah, I hope we have a little bit clean of a race tomorrow. Obviously, cautions are going to be a thing. I just hope not as much tonight.
Jim Bob, real quick, any questions for the second place finisher, the man who'll start second tomorrow?
Real quick, the only question I got for you, you've had a dose of both the heat races and, of course, the pole shootout for tonight. I got to say, the three races are completely different. The heats, the pole shootout, the 499 tomorrow. I got to say, how you've raced in the heats and tonight, do you kind of change your driving style to a degree? Do you maybe be a little more conservative for the first half of the 499, or really is it just all out track position is going to matter? Really, how do you approach 499 miles off of the 235 lap races you ran this week?
I think I attack it the same. I've been kind of conservative the entire time. So I haven't really been overly too aggressive with how I've been driving. So I think I'll just keep on doing the same thing. I mean, maybe even back it down a little bit at the beginning and just kind of see where everyone's head is at, and if we want to drive really hard and stack it up 3 wide the whole race, or we're just gonna ride around and try to survive to the end. But ultimately, it's just situational, depending on how I'll drive, but probably mostly gonna be the same.
Awesome.
Sean, you'll start second tomorrow for the SummerSlam 499. Obviously, a big honor to get to start on the front rows. Before we let you go, game plan for your race tomorrow afternoon. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
I'd like to shout out Basin, Dylan Basin. He came in there and spotted for me. And we were having a good time under yellow, just trying to make the cautions a little bit shorter. And yeah, just regular performance, RFK, all those guys, and hopefully we can bring a win home for them tomorrow.
Well, Sean, congrats on the second place finish tonight, and best of luck tomorrow as you'll start second in the SummerSlam 499.
Thank you.
Sean Conklin, second tonight, officially. Again, after the call on the last lap, he'll bring the field to green with Kenny McCullough on the front row tomorrow. As we start to wrap things up from that one, Jim Bob, obviously there's still a race to come. We'll tell everybody about that in just a second. But let's dissect this one first. I mentioned this a little bit earlier. Obviously, to start, this race was incredibly chaotic. And I think you heard both Kenny McCullough and Sean Conklin say they do not expect that this one will translate to tomorrow's race. Obviously, even these drivers that race tonight, they understand that tomorrow is a much longer affair. It is a war of attrition. It is a marathon more than a sprint. And they don't expect this race to translate. One thing that will translate, though, and it's kind of where I want to lead our final thoughts here before we get ready for the last chance provisional race, is there was a standard sent tonight. Throughout the week, we have seen these big sweeping blocks throughout the heats, the LCQs, and now tonight in the pole shootout. And tonight, I feel like it was set as a standard that those blocks, if they end up causing an incident, no matter how far back in the field that it is, with both Garza and Alex Hill receiving penalties for those kinds of blocks tonight, I think we learned in this race that tomorrow, late in the going, if that same move were to happen, the result is going to be exactly the same. Race control, I think, set the standard tonight for the penalties we're going to see tomorrow.
Well, and of course, over the last couple of months, you've seen multiple promotions, MMS and several other ones, kind of bite the hammer down on the aggressive blocks and the aggressive side drafts that we've seen in races outside of PGR. And I think for this race and really any other main events going forward, of course, Intimidator Series, Light Series, obviously the big one everybody's waiting for after this one, the PGR 500 in February of next year. I think now this is the time really to set the standard, what you can and cannot do. We've seen it over the last couple months, like race controls all over the money racing scene are starting to put their foot down, starting to hold some more accountability towards these drivers. And I got to say, tonight is a perfect example, because tomorrow you got a lot of money on the line and you're going to have 40 of the best going at it. Unfortunately, only one can win $2,000 and take home a championship belt. So Dawson, I do agree with you. I believe the standard has been set, and I think this year, not saying it hasn't been strict on calls in the past, I'm not saying that by no means, but I think this year every wrong move is going to carry a little bit more weight than what we've seen in times past going forward here, because these guys are ready.
Absolutely they are, and so are we. Again, if you missed it just a few moments ago, Adam Garza was disqualified from this race, and as such, the drivers on the front row for tomorrow's SummerSlam 499, Kenny McCullough will bring the field to green from pole position, and Sean Conklin will start outside of him. Everyone else will start where they finished in tonight's race. 2 races to go in the SummerSlam 499 weekend, and we'll now transition over to what I think will be one of the most fun shows of the weekend. First, before I tell you about that, if you're not going to be joining us for the last chance provisional here in just a few minutes, also right here on PGR eSports, tomorrow afternoon, SummerSlam 499 pre-race will get underway around 1:30 p.m. on the East Coast, just 30 minutes before green flag time for the SummerSlam 499. Green flag is set for 2 p.m. Eastern on both PGR eSports as well as a simulcast on the iRacing official YouTube page. We look forward to getting to be on the iRacing platform once again tomorrow and hope to see you there along with us if you're not going to join us for the last chance provisional here in just a little while. If that's the case, we hope you'll join us tomorrow. If you are going to join us, here's how this race is going to work. It's going to be another separate broadcast link. It's up on the live section of our page. It's under the listing of last chance provisional, and it's coming up in just a few minutes from now. We're looking forward to that one. 27 drivers enter that have already been eliminated from the SummerSlam 499. They will race for one and only one provisional spot on the grid tomorrow. 27 cars, winner take all. It is going to be a lot of fun, and it's coming up in just a few minutes on PGR eSports with Jim Bob, Garrett Jenkins on the call for you over there from Talladega. Don't miss that one. You will not want to miss that one. It's going to be exciting. If you thought this race was crazy and chaotic, I promise you that one even more so is going to be crazy and chaotic. Hope that you'll join Jim Bob and the gang for that one. It should be a drivers-only broadcast as well. I've heard some things about that also.
Oh, Lord.
This will be my farewell for the night. I will see you all tomorrow afternoon for the SummerSlam 499. Hope that you'll join us later on tonight for the last chance provisional with Jim Bob and some drivers joining along with the broadcast crew. I want to thank our sponsors of the SummerSlam 499, both That Towing Company and CCR and the Flying Aces, for their continued support of this event and PGR eSports as a promotion as well. Congratulations to Kenny McCullough on being the man that will lead the field to green tomorrow in the SummerSlam 499. And I hope that you'll join us later for the Last Chance Provisional. You won't want to miss it. It's must-see TV. For my entire broadcast crew, our producer Christian Hill downstairs doing fantastic work. He'll be back with us tomorrow as well. For my co-host Garrett Jenkins, a.k.a. Jim Bob, my name's Dawson Wise. Signing off and saying goodnight for now from Talladega.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.